So we're going to go ahead and begin. Everyone, of course, this is Alice Eve, star of the film.
John had said, I think before starting the movie, that the role of Poe was kind of a dream role for any actor. So I was curious if you had a role that would be your dream role that you'd love to play in the future.
I haven't really got my answer yet. I know that on stage I'd love to play Cleopatra, but I wouldn't be cast as her on film because I don't look remotely Egyptian. So I don't know what I mean. I guess my dream role hasn't been written yet, but it's quite interesting to think of a figure in history. I mean, to play like Emmeline Pankhurst or one of those, early 20th century feminists would be pretty badass, and like go on and die a starvation diet in prison and tie myself to railings. I'd like to play one of those women that kind of gave us the vote and changed everything so we can actually sit in colleges now. Because before, only boys were allowed to go to college.
I was wondering what it was like. You mentioned how dark the movie is. Do you worry about signing on for a role with the movie this dark? It really, one thing I admired is it really sticks to how gothic Poe's work would often be. And that's not something you see in movies very often nowadays.
Yeah, I know. It's really not something you see very often. His work, that's why his work kind of wasn't recognized at the time, really, because it was so brave to talk about how dark and twisted the mind is. And yet, to go into something that's dark, I think something that's dark that has such an academic and literary background, it's not like going into some kind of crazy, twisted S&M territory. It's like pretty much, a book, a story, a poem about a man who was a tortured soul and a genius and had incredibly dark thoughts, but really believed in the power of love. That's kind of, for me, was the redemptive force, is that there was a real true love story at the heart of it.
The scene where you were buried alive, that must have been pretty intense to shoot, and I was wondering how that was for you to be in such a small space.
I definitely had a bit of claustrophobia before I shot that, but part of the reason I wanted to do the film was because I wanted to face that fear. So I really tried to prepare for it, and I really got ready for it. And then when they put me in the coffin and they nailed the lid down, and then I took my first, this only happened once when I had to punch my way out, but I took my first breath, all the oxygen went out of the coffin, and I really wasn't expecting that, and that made me panic a little bit. But then after that, I was able to prepare and take little sips of breath, rather than, take an entire breath, which basically robbed me of any future air.
One thing I definitely wanted to ask was, what was it like getting to bounce off Brendan Gleeson and work with him for a lot of the movie? Because I think he's off a lot of people's radars, but he's one of the best actors out there right now, so that must have been so much fun working with him.
He really is. He's a phenomenal actor, and he's a great guy. He's so sweet and caring and paternal, but he definitely likes to talk about everything. He likes to break it down, but he's very invested and interested in the world of film, and he does it from a really warm place.
Do you have any advice for either actors or people looking to create films to kind of break into the scene in Hollywood and get their start?
Yeah, my advice is to really know yourself, because if you really know yourself, then you'll know that this is what you want to do, and if you know this is what you want to do, then you'll do it. But it's hard, but then, having a child looks really hard too. So there are lots of things that are hard and that you still can do it. But if you really know you want to do it and you know yourself, then it'll take time. But, it's definitely worth getting into. There's nothing more rewarding than making something and then seeing it, knowing there's a finished product. It's cool.